Hey there, Wall Street winners. It is Thursday, June the 13th. And as we look at the futures today in our Bloomberg app, we can see that the indices are kind of split. The NASDAQ is up 119 points. The S&P 500 is up 10, but the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 94. So we had a bit of a mixed data day yesterday. Inflation coming in better than expected by 0.1%. However, after that, we had the Fed meeting minutes released at 2 p.m. and then Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell speak at 2:30. And we heard that it's highly likely we're only going to see one rate cut in 2024, down from 5 at the beginning of the year, 5 potential rate cuts, and down from 2 that may have been expected going into that meeting. So the good news with that is that it tells us that the economy is actually pretty strong and resilient, because we don't need to reduce interest rates in order to spur the economy and give it a bit of a lift or a boost. So that's good. We're also seeing overall that earnings are pretty strong across the board, certainly in the tech sector, but also in some other sectors driven by consumer spending. So the consumer in the U.S. has been pretty resilient throughout this whole period. And even though they're dealing with higher mortgage costs and often higher rent costs and higher food costs, higher gas costs, they're still out there spending, they're still traveling. They may be doing it in different ways. They may be spending, as we've seen now, more at discount retailers like the Walmarts of the world, the Dollar Trees, Dollar Generals, than they are at the high-end shops and retailers, but they are spending, and that's overall, it's good news for the economy. And we can see here in the health and retail that it's a bit of a mixed bag. Dollar General looks up in the pre-market, Home Depot up slightly, Nike down at 93.5, we'll call it, maybe getting up to 94 at the open. I really like Nike. It's reporting in 2 weeks. It's always been a fairly steady and strong stock. If we look at the 1 month chart of Nike, if we can get that to come up here, what we should see is that it's kind of been hovering in a range between 90 and we'll call it 96. And I think that we're going to get some good earnings coming out. 97, there you go. And we should see some good earnings. So if you're into options trading, I would look at a call option out at the $95 range in March of 2025. So we should hear by then on the Christmas earnings for Nike and Christmas sales. I think we're going to see it go into the hundreds by March of 2025. I think that would be a good option to purchase at this point. I think you could get out of it well before March 2025 at a nice tidy profit. And as we go down to our different transport stocks, you can see JB Hunt's been actually moving quite a bit for a transportation stock. If we look at the 5-day here, it's gotten up to 164.22 and down as low as 157.87. So actually lower than that. If we look over here, I believe it's probably down. Why is this not working? There we go. It was probably down in the lower 157s. Yeah, 157.87. So you've got a little bit of movement. I'm not a big fan of this stock at 160, but if it dropped into the 158, 159 range, I think it's a good buy, because I do believe you could make 1% or 2% in a very short amount of time, because it is bobbing up and down in that envelope or that window. Oil stocks, I was completely wrong yesterday on oil stocks, and I'm still trying to figure out that mystery. Crude was up huge yesterday. If we look at the 5-day chart in crude, it went up and got up into the low to mid 79 range, and then it just fell off the map. And I don't really understand what drove that, if anything. If we look at the news, there's a concern over a surplus, but I mean, oil producers are doing extremely well over the last few years, and the price of crude is not in a range where it's not profitable for them. So the movement like that in a single day, I just don't know where that comes from. And I have to believe that we're due to see it go in the opposite way, which is up as part of a correction. So we're off 60 cents today, but still close to $78, which is a good price for crude. And I think that if that does recover and get above 78 today a barrel, we should see some of these oil refiners turn. And I do believe that Valero at 148.40 is one of the most attractive buys in the market today. I'd even go as far as to call it a value stock, which is hard to come by these days, trading at 7.28 times price to earnings. That is, and yielding almost 3% in a dividend if you were to hold it when it goes ex-dividend quarterly. I think you're in for a very, very attractive return if you were to just buy this and hold it through to the end of the year or into January of next year. It's already in the last 6 months gone up 23%, and it's pulled back significantly from its highs in the 180s. So you're off about $30, $25 here from its all-time highs, maybe $35. But it has the potential certainly to get back up to that 185 level, in my opinion. You've got a lot of others to choose from as well. Enbridge at 48.93, not unattractive, but would not be my first pick by any means. Occidental Petroleum, the producer loved by Warren Buffett. You really probably can't go too wrong getting into a stock that Buffett is behind. Exxon at 110. Again, this is a stock that by the end of the year should be at 120, if not 130. And then a variety of others. The one that I would avoid is Marathon Oil, unless it drops way down into the $24, $25, $26 range, only because they're being acquired. And so their price is kind of locked in at this point. It should not trade in too big of an envelope or a window. So as we look to tech, CrowdStrike is, again, gaining momentum on a daily basis. It may not be a ton. It did pop a lot at the beginning of the week after the announcement of its inclusion in the S&P 500. Apple has been on a rocket ship trajectory as well, getting up to $2.13, almost $6 upside yesterday, probably more, but it closed a little bit down from its high for the day. CRM's coming back. It had an off day yesterday, but I do believe that stock is going to get back into the 300s. So if you are looking for a longer term buy and hold, I would look at Salesforce, which has a symbol CRM. Palo Alto is doing incredibly well, up almost $7 yesterday, back into the 320s. This was a stock that was trading in the 270s less than 30 days ago. Net's climbing back as well. I think we're going to get some good results out of Cloudflare. We had some out of some of the others, particularly CrowdStrike. So I think we should get good earnings out of Palo Alto and Net going into the third and fourth quarters. So those could be attractive value buys. I'm still trying to wrap my head around ARM. ARM is on a roller coaster ride, and there's no great fundamentals behind that to back it up, in my opinion. I mean, yes, it's highly involved in AI and AI chip manufacturing, but it's not achieving the revenues or earnings that justify that earnings multiple, again, in my opinion. So I'm staying clear of that with a price to earnings ratio of 518 times. That's a little rich from my perspective. AMD is kind of hovering. I'm not a big fan of AMD at this moment. Scrolling down further, we had great results after close yesterday for Broadcom. You can see it's up $204 pre-market. That is a big, big move to the upside. And they're obviously involved in the manufacture of a ton of chips for the iPhone as well as other devices. And then Tesla got a bit of a bump, maybe on this whole case on Musk's pay package coming to a close. I believe they have their shareholder meeting today, and midnight last night, if I recall correctly, was when all ballots were able to be submitted on the vote around that, and it looked like it was going to go in his favor. So that's getting a pretty good lift of $13 pre-market. Meta's had a good run recently. It's back in the $500 range, even after it took a massive hit after its its earnings in the last quarter, but it's just a cash producing machine. Nvidia's on a tear again. Remember that with the 10-to-1 stock split, if you see it up $3.95 pre-market, it's really $39 is what we're looking at there, going back to that 10-time multiple. Google off a little bit. I'm looking to buy Google anytime it is off a little bit, because this is a stock that has an incredible amount of potential going forward. And then the big one today after market is Adobe. So Adobe's coming out with earnings. I am a big fan of Adobe, have been for a long time. I'm a believer in this stock and this company. They've always had outstanding products. They're priced at a premium, and they have a loyal followership. I think we're going to see a big move upwards in Adobe when it releases its results after market today. And then down to financials, SOFI had an incredible day yesterday, getting up as high as the 730s. I dumped a bunch of SOFI in the 730s yesterday at a tidy little profit, and will be buying back in when it pops back down into the lower 7s, high 6s, if we see a bit of a correction there. You've got some others that are very attractive. JP Morgan down at 191 or 192. I'm going to be buying into that today at the open. And then also looking at Goldman. If I tried to get some Goldman at 440 yesterday, it didn't transact, but I should have bought it at 444. I'm definitely going to be acquiring some of that if it drops down into the low 440s. So that's where we are today. Good luck with your trades. If you're liking these videos, please subscribe to the channel and tell someone who's interested in stock trading. Leave me a like and a comment, and we'll talk.